And here we go.
All right.
We're on.
We're starting. Hello, everybody. This is our new episode, Between Two Teachers. I'm Consuelo Lara.
I'm Madeline Cronenberg, and here we are on the between the Northern Lights and my office in El Cerrito. We're both in the land of the Chochenyo, Karkin, Ohlone people, the people whose ancestral lands we want to continue to honor every day.
And we continue to shelter in place, to wear our masks, to wash our hands, and just stay home and do the right thing so that we can get this thing over with as soon as possible.
So true. And it has, taken over everything, and it doesn't seem to be leaving soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's true nationally. So we don't have, I was going to give national news, but we don't have a national plan, really. So there isn't that much to say. Internationally, schools are reopening in other countries.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they've been so much more successful in their whole fight against COVID. So that there are countries that students are back. But this isn't one of those countries. And actually, I will say this. There are some states that have done a much better job of crushing the curve. And they are bringing students back. Massachusetts is bringing students back. Right. I think New Hampshire is. Some of the states up in the Northeast, where they're able to do it because they've cut the infection rate.
Yeah, yeah.
But not in California.
Oh, not here.
Not here.
We're experiencing some spikes, so we've got to really follow the rules and get more information and work harder at this.
Right.
It's
right.
Really bad.
So right now you've got LA, so the largest districts in the state, and San Diego, San Francisco,
Okay.
San Jose announced it today. All of them, actually most districts in the state, in their announcements as they are as of today, are all online. And the governor is going to give his recommendations at noon, shortly after we're done doing this. And it's going to be that we're going to have, I mean, we can anticipate what it is. It's going to have to be something about not having cases going up in order to safely bring children into a building, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Our district as well. We're going online in the fall.
Right.
We have to. Mm-hmm.
And going online with hubs. That's the one difference with West Contra Costa. West Contra Costa didn't just say we're just going online. They said we're going online, but we're also going to have an opportunity for families to be able to go to a hub site, right? And be able to have support at that site. This is not a site where your teacher will be, right? Because you're still going to be in your classroom, but a site where you can go and bring your device. Everyone has a device, so they can bring their device and have support staff there to help you.
Yeah.
In your teacher's class.
Yeah, it's still in the working, phase, and so people jump to conclusions about what it is and forcing people to come back, and so we're still working on it. But it's an idea that's out there of hubs and bringing back people, phasing in gradually, etc. So we'll see how that works. For me, I think it should be something that's an opt-in, like an optional choice, because we do have parents who would say, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And of course, all the protocols in place, and we can apply the science that we know now. And so it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. But I don't think anybody should feel like they're going to be forced, to.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. The term that came up was guinea pigs, right?
Yeah.
So if you think that sending your child to, and this is this just shows the amount of of fear and distrust is really what we're hearing there, and from families who who would feel that you're setting this up and it's less than something else that my child would get if they were at home.
Yeah.
If that's true, then you wouldn't send your child to this. But the truth is, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a support system for folks who feel their child aren't getting as much at home, that the support isn't there for them at home for whatever reason. I mean, it doesn't matter what the reason is.
Yeah, I mean, there's situations that don't lend themselves to, online. We have special ed students with English learners. There's, so
there are family situations, right? There are even, family situations that are unique to a family at a given time. And where there's the only person who's at home is somebody who's being totally unable to support a child all day in distance learning. And although that person could maybe take care of the child, they are unable to support them in distance learning. So those are the children who need additional help.
And we heard a couple of stories today that we have to make sure everybody understands how somebody tests positive in the family, so you put them out in the garage for 2 weeks, and then you have to get the testing, and how difficult this situation has been for some of our families. Really
incredibly difficult. And we also heard from a young mother whose 1-year-old became sick.
Yes.
Right? And we're all thinking, oh, that can't even happen. Well, it can happen. Yeah. Because this is a very, very contagious illness.
And so the husband had to go to work, so he's in a room, isolated. And it's just a horrible, horrible situation. The things that people have to try to do to survive this.
And what's happening is that the governmental response, which is what we're talking about, is they're trying to play catch up and figure out what makes the most sense, how you can do it. And there's nothing easy about it, right? And the doctor that we heard earlier today, he's just looking to see what are the problems and how can he match them up with solutions, right? I thought his comment about how the West Contra Costa has secured hotel rooms for families that need help. And I think they had, at one point, they were putting homeless individuals in the hotel rooms, and then they were putting essential workers in the hotel rooms, offering them for them. But in fact, they have a great number of hotel rooms.
Yeah.
The problem is people don't know that.
People don't know. And you're talking about Dr. Rohan Red Krishna. Works for the county. He's our local Anthony Fauci, everybody.
Exactly.
You can find a lot of videos on YouTube on him. Some of them are older, but we're gonna record him and have him available on a lot of our postings so that you can get the latest what's happening. In fact, he had to leave our meeting and go to the
planning meeting for the presentation that the governor is going to give at noon.
Today at noon. So we're going to be finished before then too, so we can hear. We all want to know what's going to happen. What's going to happen?
But it just shows they're working hard and they want to hear from us. But that little piece of information. So if a family needed to have you don't have to go in the garage or sleep next to the house. You could actually, move to one of these hotel rooms. And
yeah.
And
so it's getting the information out. We got to get the information out to people about these resources. It really is about resources.
Right.
Okay.
And the resources are in development. And he was very open. If you can think of a resource or a way to do a resource, then that you need to have a way to share that out as well, right? And people are trying to solve problems that never existed before. That's really what it's come down to. So Anyway, as far as the country goes, LA, like I was saying, LA is open. New York State is trying to figure out what they're going to do. They're up and down still, although I think the city is going to go all online. I've got a link here to an interesting document. It's put out by, who is it put out by? I think it's the folks at Johns Hopkins. And it's called the School Reopening Plan Tracker. And it has a link to every state's policy on reopening. All 50 states have each put out a policy. And so, of course, as a country, we're not all together on the same page. And there are big differences. There's no question there are differences. So they've tracked all of that. And they've also got all of the reopening plans that came from the American Pediatric Society, from other organizations, the Association of Superintendents. All of them are included in this plan tracker. And it's just interesting to see where people are, and also how fluid it is, because you're there with an expectation that things are going to get better, and then the virus grows and it's not better, which is where we are right now. And so where we are right now is what folks are going to have to do is figure out the one thing that you've got, which is this distance learning, right? And how we can communicate with our children in the most effective way. And that's, I think, going to happen. People are being trained more and more in what opportunities there are, how teachers can relate through a screen. But it's not what most teachers have been trained to do at all.
And the other task is to create that partnership with the parent, because the parent is doing the home part of it and the teacher's doing the online part of it. And there really does have to be that, we learn that relationships right now are so important. So that relationship with the teacher and the parent working together.
It's a completely new relationship, because the parents before this were never brought into the classroom. And now every classroom has all the parents in it as well. That is a very different experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Very different.
Very different. And on everybody's side. So that's, I think that it's something that teachers need to share out and talk about how they're managing that, as well as teachers sharing out on their own grade levels the information, to how to be a stronger teacher.
Yeah, I think I shared at the board meeting, we used to have curriculum committees. And so I taught ELD, and there was a time, I think we met once a month, and we had an agenda, we had everything that we could meet with other ELD teachers at all the other schools, the other middle schools. So, and we could share and we could talk about, what we're doing, and it was wonderful. And I think they stopped doing that. But if you did that by grade levels,
that's the ticket.
Some subject areas, and collaborate, given that time to collaborate, that is really the key. That's what makes teachers better teachers, is when they have the opportunity to collaborate with other teachers.
Zoom makes this very possible, because now every first grade teacher in any district could meet together on a Zoom meeting and share out, right? And even within those teachers, you could have subsets of pairing veteran teachers with newer teachers, and sharing out best practices, things that one teacher might have a set of problems that another teacher's never had, but someone else in the group had exactly that set of problems. So I think if there are opportunities, it's just that in terms of professional development, people have to start doing collaborations more than just bringing out the old business, because the old business isn't going to work anymore.
Nope. We have nothing prepared that we could pull out and say, oh, let's use this. This would apply. Everything is new. Everything is new. We've got to keep
Everything's new.
testing out. All right. What else do we have here?
What else do we have? I was gonna
Um,
go ahead.
oh,
You-
okay. Well, I just wanted to mention that the racial justice issues are
Mhm.
still very, very important and very prominent because the police brutality continues. And so the protests and the demonstrations also continue, and that schools play a big part in this. And I've been giving a lot of thought to the roots of how to root out systemic racism in our schools. And this takes me back to a lot of the readings I did in graduate school, like The Colonizer and the Colonized, or Pedagogy of the Oppressed by
Right.
Paulo Freire. I mean, all of these things really do apply right now. The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon. Oh my goodness. So when we look at uh, systemic racism, it's you don't notice it. You can't, all of us think these things or these practices are normal, and we've just accepted it. But when you follow the end result, the consequences, you see the inequity, and then you see, oh, that's racist. And so I've got a few things, but in particular I want to talk about textbooks, for instance.
Right.
That they are Eurocentric, they're oppressively racist oftentimes, and expensive. So we need to go beyond textbooks. And there's a movement, there's even open source education. This is not something you could do overnight. Some people, depending where I think my first year of teaching, I needed that textbook. By the end of my teaching, I didn't even want to see a new textbook because I had my tried and true stuff.
Right.
I knew what I was doing. So yeah, you're going to need textbooks sometimes. And that leads into the whole issue of ethnic studies. The fact that one of the things when the colonizer colonizes a continent or a country, the first thing they do is they take away the culture and the language
Right.
of that group. And that disempowers them. So we need to empower with ethnic studies, and of course continuing our bilingual education. But that's moving. We have a lot of people who are on board with that. So we see
Well,
that.
but Superintendent Thurmond is running a weekly webinar on ethnic studies. So he's done the African American one. He's done one on. I think he's done one on Latinx, and he's just moving on. I think he's going to do one on Asian studies. So that just shows you it's coming from the grassroots, and it's coming from the top. So that's why in California that's happening. That will happen.
Yeah, and his next ones they're every Tuesday. So for the next 2 Tuesdays at 3:00 on his website, the state,
the California Department of Education.
Yeah, so they're on there. They're live so that you can see those. And then one more thing is about standardized testing and how so racist standardized testing is. It is used for nothing but labeling, categorizing, sorting kids. These are the losers and these are the winners. And then we're going to put, one of the practices that just infuriates me is how this kid has low either math or reading score. So the following year, we're going to give him 2 classes of that they struggle in already. They probably hate that subject, and you've taken away an elective. So they can't take art or music or band, something that would make school fun. Right. So you're torturing them and you're making school horrible, and so then at the end, you wonder why they don't like school or why they might want to drop out. And then who are they? Let's look at that. The children of color. So there's a lot of inequity in that. So that practice, that's just one of the practices that comes from having standardized tests.
And then the grading that goes with it, right? Yesterday when we interviewed Dawit, he was very, very, very firm on how upset he is with unclear grading practices, right? And they're going to be super unclear right now in terms of how, because I thought he made a really good point, and it's true. You're going to have, you have, and he's in high school, but it's true across the board. You're going to have these uneven delivery of instruction. People are not, some students, some teachers are going to be superstars in it. Others, teachers are going to need support in switching from one whole system of instruction to another. And we need to find ways to not persecute the students or punish the teachers, and just find ways to support them both. Right. And that's something our administrators can do now. Like the administrators shouldn't be spending their time doing evaluations. They need to be spending their time figuring out the most effective way to support these teachers who are in this whole new world that they never expected to be in.
Yeah. So we're going to shift our paradigm when it comes to assessments, for sure. For sure. So those are just a few things. I'll be bringing up more and more of things that I'd like to see here in the district, and actually in all the districts in the county, I think could benefit from all of this. Is about systemic racism in schools that we have to do something about right away.
And just call it out, because we've gotten used to this, to a process that really is incredibly unfair. And if there's anything we're going to take away from all of the protests of this year after the George Floyd murder, we need to take away that we need to take action. We need to look back on this and say, here are the actions that we've taken as a result of really understanding the depth of this problem. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm going to do our call to actions. The call to actions that we have on here. The first one is, I've got a link to the documentary The Desert, which is the one about the closing of Brookside Hospital in West Contra Costa, which is a really valuable piece of history if you haven't seen it. It's being shown on the Truly California channel. There's also a call to action on here to tell Congress to not redirect coronavirus relief funds to vouchers for private schools, which is one of the things Mr. Voss would like to have happen. So the Network for Public Education has an action to tell your congressional representatives to say no, just say no. And then finally, there's a Schools and Communities First came out again. They had a webinar this week to just explain how much funding there will be for all the children in California. Every child will be will receive additional funds, as well as all of our communities. And besides the schools, Lord knows right now our cities have lost a huge amount of money, and this is going to support them as well. So it's now Prop 15, right? That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about supporting Prop 15 in November. That's the school. Number. Got a number. It's not 13, thank goodness. It's. I think they got to retire 13 because it's.
No.
15. We want Prop 15 to pass. Prop 15, and it is not. I'm seeing the ads against it as well, and they are lies. They're all lies.
Wow.
Because what they say is, oh, your taxes will go up as a residential homeowner. And your taxes will not go up as a residential homeowner. So that is not the case. Small businesses are protected. The people who are going to pay in schools, the money in Schools and Communities First, are the ones who have had the advantage of a tax loophole since Prop 13 was passed. And those are your large landlords, your large landholders who haven't had their property reassessed. Right, so for us in Contra Costa County, the poster child is Chevron. They haven't had their property reassessed since 1972. So, that's the problem, right? Disneyland hasn't been reassessed. I mean, and when you can look at the list of companies throughout the state, and what they have had was a windfall of money that no other state has had this kind of property tax loophole, and it needs to be closed because it was taken. The money was taken away from our children and from all of our communities that need services. There's no reason for this loophole to exist to support them.
Yeah.
And that's
So it's yes on
15.
15. 15. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
We got
Yes,
shout
15.
outs. Okay. Oh, do you have anything else here?
One more thing. I just want to do a shout out to, we're at our shout outs. I think we did it to Dr. Radha Krishna, but also I want to give one to our returning healing Congressman Mark DeSaulnier, who has a bill to make the Rosie the Riveter Historical Site larger and have it expand to include Nystrom Elementary School, where the children of the Rosies went to school. And it's not the only school. They also certainly went to Stige, because we've got pictures of Stige going to a schedule that had 4 times a day. They had the 24, that building was open 24 hours a day.
4 hour daycare. Yep.
24 hours, because that's how they built the ships. You can't build a ship every day unless everybody's there every day, all day, all in.
Yep.
So that bill is coming up, and Mr. DeSaulnier is the lead player on that, and the bill is called, let's see, the Rosie the Riveter National Historic Site Expansion Act, HR 7585. And once that passes, we'll have one of the few schools in the country that's a historic site.
That's amazing. Yeah. Good for them. That would be great.
That will be great.
All right. So we've got a lot of things to post for sure.
Yep.
Of connection, our interview with Dawit, that's really important. And other resources that we got from Dr. Rohan. We'll hear more about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for our joke, you think?
We're ready.
Okay. Did you hear that someone broke into the police station and stole all the day? They have nothing to go on.
And on that, we can go off and watch The Governor now.
Yes, we can. All right.
Time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And